Thomas Massie is with us, who was just on CNN questioning the intelligence of some of the anchors there. I don't know how you could possibly do that, Thomas Massie.
Well, I just questioned their preparedness. Now, I never questioned that about you or your staff. But
and we're the ones you should, really. Really.
No, she claimed she referenced 19 different things I had voted on and claimed she had spent a whopping 2 minutes studying one of them, and it made her an expert.
Okay, we want to talk to you about what's happening overseas with the Houthis. I'm really torn on this because I feel as though we are backing into yet another war. I also think there are people in this administration that want war. I also know that this administration continues to send money over to Iran. So, our literal enemy in this, we're helping fund. So this isn't serious on anybody's part. However, they are shooting at us, launching missiles at our Navy, and aren't we defending ourselves? How should we look at this?
Well, first of all, you should look at it as this is election season. And when you're at war, there's a greater tendency to vote for the commander-in-chief who's waging the war. And I am worried that he's going to draw us into a war with this. Now, I believe that he has an obligation to come to Congress, and I think he had time to do it. If he had time to organize an international coalition, or at least with Great Britain, to pull this off, he had time to come to us. And the War Powers Act requires him to do that. It allows him to respond defensively in the case of emergency, but that would be like an imminent attack. It wouldn't be something where you plan some kind of retaliation for things that have gone on for months. So
the war. Can we talk about the War Powers Act here for a second? Because I believe the War Powers Act is correct in a world where we have missiles. If somebody's launching a missile, the president does not have time to go to Congress and say, hey, I want to make my case here that in 12 minutes we're all going to be vaporized. However, like you said, it's been 90 plus days since this happened. We've watched it happen. They've been fighting and shooting against us, et cetera, et cetera. The president has a responsibility to go in front of the American people and Congress and make his case, and Congress needs to decide. Correct?
Absolutely. You are absolutely correct. We have abdicated, though, our authority. We've been involved in Yemen. Here's what I don't see reported in the news. Since about 2015. And in 2018, I teamed up with Ro Khanna and tried to get a war powers resolution passed.
Yep.
To get us back out of Yemen. This was in 2018. Paul Ryan did a parliamentary trick. He hid the vote on our war powers resolution in the Farm Bill. And then, so people voted for the Farm Bill and put our war powers resolution to bed. So we tried again, and he hid it in the Manage Our Wolves Act. If you voted for the Manage Our Wolves Act to come to the floor of the House, you voted against the Ro Khanna Thomas Massie War Powers Resolution, according to the War Powers Act, to get us out of Yemen.
Think of this. Our Congress is voting on management of wolves, but not whether or not we go to war.
Correct. And then, so a year later, we were able to get it to the floor. We passed it in the House. We followed, I don't even agree completely with the War Powers Act that was passed in the 1970s, especially not the interpretation that people have of it. But we were able to get a resolution passed to get us out of Yemen in 2019. And then it went from the House to the Senate, and they passed it with 53 votes. But Donald Trump vetoed it. Now, it was, it's within his authority to veto it, but that demonstrated to me how ridiculous the War Powers Act is, because effectively, it takes 2/3 of us to override a president's veto. So what it means is the War Powers Act, if you believe in it, with 33% of Congress, the president can go to war because it takes 2/3 to stop him. It's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. So what are you hearing up on the Hill about all of this? Where are we headed, Thomas?
I am worried that we're going to be expanding conflicts in the Middle East, that this is there's some people up here that are just begging for a war with Iran. And whether it's something that grows out of Gaza or whether it's something that grows out of Yemen, and I think we need to take a step back and look at this and say, is that in the best interest of our country to have a full-blown war with Iran? And I'm worried that this president would like to have something hot going on before the election or during the election.
Well, the national intelligence agencies came out today and warned that that Hezbollah has assets here in America, and that they're concerned that this could mean a direct strike here in the homeland, which I don't think would play well for all of those who had an open border.
I mean, this is the big exposure we have at the open border. Not only are we going to economically destroy our country by bringing so many illegal immigrants into the country so quickly, it's so porous that Hezbollah can walk across the border, and no doubt they are here. They could activate. I mean, what was it? 15 of the 19 hijackers were actually from Saudi Arabia, and were here legally for the most part, I think. But now we're looking at a different threat, and it only takes 19 to, do something very bad in this country, as we saw on 9/11.
Nikki Haley, during the last debate, basically called you an anti-Semite. Why do you hate the Jews so much?
Oh, my gosh. As Ron DeSantis says, that's cheap garbage. And as I tweeted, I'm living rent-free in her head. And trust me, there's lots of empty space in here. She had her understanding of the bills that I've been voting on is 1 inch deep. Whereas, Ron DeSantis, even though he and I disagree on this issue, he understands where I'm coming from. And he's not AstroTurf like Nikki Haley is. This is why she stopped taking questions at town halls. If you go more than one question deep, she doesn't know what she's talking about. But she was attacking me on votes. For instance, I didn't vote for the $14 billion financial package to Israel. Now, we can have a discussion about that, whether we can afford that, whether we should be doing that or not. But she claims that I'm anti-Semitic or anti-Israel because I'm not voting for foreign aid. But here's the thing. I've never voted for foreign aid to any country. I'm not picking on any country. And then there were some resolutions where we can have legitimate disagreements about whether it infringes on free speech. And then there was a vote that I took against a resolution that says anti-Zionism is anti-Semitism. Now, it's true that a lot of anti-Semites are against Israel, just by definition. But it's not true that if you have harsh criticism of Israel, or even if you don't believe in Zionism, that you are also an anti-Semite.
Well,
because if that were true, there'd be a lot of Jews who are anti-Semite.
I know. I was going to say, a lot of the Hasidic Jews here in America despise Israel, say it's an abomination of a state because it's not a religious state. So are they anti-Semites too?
I don't think they.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't think Gerald Nadler's anti-Semite. He's Jewish. And he spoke against that resolution on the floor.
Okay.
The sad thing is we've had 19 votes like that since our new speaker became speaker. And what we should be focusing on is our own spending bills and cutting spending. Instead, we pass these resolutions, which are frankly political gotchas. The Republicans are trying to use that issue to catch the Democrats up in votes and then use it to get them unelected. And I just don't have an appetite for that when we should be focused on our fiscal issues. Right now in the House, we are about to throw away all the spending caps that were put in place this summer. I was on your show talking about this, taking heat from you.
Because I said, I remember when I was young and naive.
Yes.
Yes.
You said, I said, maybe I'm getting fooled here. But Glenn, they're signing it into law. They did. The White House and the Senate put those caps into law.
Yeah.
And now they are undoing the law. We've never got that far. It's kind of Lucy and the football. I mean, my foot contacted the football. I've never got to that point. the problem is they had somebody illegally blocking or something.
Yeah.
They are about to. What happened is the Senate and the White House had buyer's remorse, and the military hawks here and the appropriators on the Republican side are forcing Mike Johnson through, I'll call it violence, parliamentary violence. They're just like, well, we'll cause the government to shut down, and you'll be blamed for it, Mike, if you don't undo the deal from this summer.
Good. Honestly, Thomas, and I know, this government is dismantling America. We'd be better off with the government shut down for a while to be able to put it back on a leash by cutting all of this spending. I mean, good. Shut it down.
I agree with you, but there's another option that they agreed to this summer, which is if they would do what Jim Jordan and Warren Davidson and I prescribed and they agreed to, which is a long-term CR, there would never be a threat of a shutdown, but there would be a 1% cut on April 30th to every department in the United States of America's government. And there wouldn't be the chance of a shutdown, but that would motivate, I think, people to come to the table and get policies like securing the border. Without a shutdown, here's what happens when you have a shutdown. We got, and you know this as well as I, there's at least a dozen members here in the GOP conference who will cross the aisle and sign something with the Democrats to, stiff us on this. It's deplorable, but they'll do it. And some of them have already announced their retirement, so they don't care.
So bad. So bad. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Thomas Massie, as always.
You go ahead.
Keep taking them on. Thanks.
Thank you, brother. Bye.
You bet. Bye.